everybody, welcome to Raising Vibrations with myself, Simon. Today everyone, I'm going to be sharing with you again some of my deep thoughts regarding the nature of abundance and energy, and taking a deeper look at the nature of our relationship to money, and basically looking at how we as human beings going forward can actually interact with the societal structure that has been built on corruption, and maybe tackling some of the bigger questions that are facing all of us on a deep level, and maybe seeing if we can extract some information from this conversation. Okay, now some of my biggest intentions regarding having this conversation with you is to share with you my personal philosophy that I use in my everyday life, and how I managed to deal with the nature of the Pluto and Capricorn transit, which is the nature of our entire civilization reconstructing and reorganizing itself in a way that is different to how it has been in the past, basically. Other things that I want to also do today with you in terms of this video is share some material regarding how our matrix, how our world has been in some way, shape or form created, or it has come to a point where a lot of our own personal slavery and human slavery has been kept in the way that it has. So I'm going to be sharing with you my own personal philosophy again around how we tackle these things, solutions that we could use in approaching this situation. Okay. This material is quite dense. This video will be very dense. So please, if you're interested in really taking note in what I'm talking about today in this video, watch it over and over, because there's going to be a lot of information here that I'm going to be sharing that requires a simulation, okay? That requires you to go, okay, I'm going to pause it here, and I'm going to look out in the world, I'm going to make the connections, I'm going to reflect inside of myself the nature of reality, notice within myself where I have these aspects or dimensions of myself still attached, and so on and so forth, and then kind of like, liberate yourself or look at it in the way that I've suggested it in this video, and then come back and look at other dimensions that I've shared with you, so that you can really take the best out of this video, and in some way, shape or form, give me a sense of knowing that, in some way, shape or form, this video is actually doing good to you as well, okay? Because this is the major reason as to why I'm creating this kind of video series at this stage, is for me personally to offer awareness around how we can use astrological archetypes as a reflection within ourselves, and then from that point of view, use the potential that's there for us to evolve through them. Because as you well know through my own channel in itself, and how I view the structure of how we can optimally use astrology, it's something that is designed in a way to access deeper knowledge that is from within. And then from that knowledge, we act upon that, and then we move in the direction that we need to go into based on our personal evolution. So today's discussion is going to be a lot about the astrological signs of Virgo Pisces. As you know from the previous video that I've been sharing this very deep and healing stuff with you with, it comes from there. A lot of that information comes from that video in terms of what we have created. So if you haven't seen that, I highly recommend watching that first. I will try to remember to put a link in the top of the video up here. It should come up for you right now if I remembered, which will probably be the case. Click on that, go to that video, watch that, and then watch this one. Or my higher self's telling me right now that it doesn't really matter. Watch this one and then the other one, as long as you watch both of them, basically. Anyway, enough of my rambling, enough of my sort of like introduction. I'd like to now step into the conversation with you today, okay? Now, as I said, this is very dense. This material in itself is also going to be very confrontational. So I do apologize sincerely if I maybe step on people's toes, and I maybe put myself in situations where I make statements that might not necessarily agree with you. And the whole purpose of this conversation, from my point of view, is to confront these philosophies that are within our psyche and ask ourselves if we are still operating in a sense of illusion and we're not actually honoring truth here. Okay. And the same goes for me as well. I would like for you to actually interact with me on the thread that's below on this video regarding what your personal thoughts are. Do you have anything that you can maybe offer the community in that way that's really, really helps us, as in the people here, to better our lives? Because the whole purpose of this experience is to actually better our lives and to create more empowerment. At least from my point of view, that's what you're doing on this channel when you're listening to it. You're seeking empowerment within yourself relative to the disempowerment that has been, infiltrated into our consciousness. So as I said again, we're talking about money, we're talking about energetic exchange, and we're talking about abundance, all right? Now, the first thing that I really want to start out by suggesting to you is that my personal philosophy at this point in time is based on the dynamics of what I call cosmic karma. Okay, cosmic karma. I'll get into that a little bit deeper when I actually bring up the slides. But cosmic karma to me represents the nature of being born into a time frame and recognizing that that time frame has specific conditions, specific dynamics that are what we would perceive to be, or what we would have as our limitations. Okay, myself, I was born 1983. And so therefore I grew up in, the late 1980s. So for instance, 1989, etc. But had my sort of like teenage years assimilated through the 1990s. Okay, so I'm part of that kind of consciousness that was there. Now, if you look at the nature of consciousness then, and you compare it to the nature of consciousness now, you can see that there is very different energetic imprints that our generations would have experienced. Okay. So the point, and then of course that applies to souls that were born later on or earlier on, as in 1963 and so on and so forth. That collective karma we come in with has got a very strong influential impact on the nature of what we perceive to be right and wrong, and so on and so forth. Okay, so this is an important truth that we have to honor when you're trying to really understand what I'm trying to share with you here in this video, okay, regarding energetic exchange, money, and abundance. Okay, these three really, really controversial sort of perspectives and truths that we hold within ourselves and around our spiritual awakening process, and so on and so forth. So, cosmic karma, born into a specific time frame, and that time frame then literally imprints itself onto you. Okay. So that's my philosophy. I based it on the nature of that. Step one. Step two is I also look at the nature of life as survival. Okay, we need to survive on planet Earth. The physical body needs sustenance. Okay, in order for it to keep on existing. Otherwise, it would simply cease to exist, and we know that. So what we do is we naturally, and most of us probably don't really pay as much attention to it as we should, but we do more than what we may have in the past, is that we need food in order for us to exist. We need, and when I say food, I don't mean the type of definitions that we've given it today. I'm talking about substance that the body requires to then turn into fuel so that it then supports all the bodily functions that exist within it. Okay, so iron, all the vitamins and minerals, and so on and so forth. Okay, so it requires food, and it requires water, for instance, and it requires a sense of more abstract food, which would be considered soul growth or heart connection, and so on and so forth. So these kind of fundamental laws exist within this incarnation. Okay, so we've incarnated in a time frame, and now we're here in the physical dense field, and we've got a story that we've got to live through. We've got to recognize what that story is, so it becomes the journey of remembrance. And in order for us to allow for that story to unfold, as it were, we require sustenance. Okay. Now, how you choose to go about sustaining your physical body is up to you. Okay. However, there is a part of me that feels that in order for us to really access the more higher dimensional states of awarenesses, we need to recognize that there are codes within ourselves, belief systems, distortions, illusions of separateness, all these very ugly sort of dark aspects of ourselves that we carry within our psyche, these distortions, and that we need to, in a sense, become purified through that process, right? So it leads us to living a life where we are making choices based on pure ethics, okay, like an ethical statement, which even in itself can be a very controversial and huge debate, because, you know, especially when you're going to higher form of education and you're looking at the nature of ethics, maybe in philosophy, for instance, that would be a place where you'd probably naturally have that debate exist, and then you would have ethics exist within all themes, for instance, right? Ethics regarding, you know, the mechanic that fixes cars, ethics regarding YouTube, etc. You know, there's always going to be that fundamental theme that exists within all of those dimensional worlds or universes, okay? So we have ethics. Now, from a spiritual perspective, in terms of your incarnation, and I hate that word. I hate the word spiritual perspective, but I have to use it because it kind of like creates a connection between me and you in terms of where we are looking in the spectrum of light. But when I say spiritual incarnation and such, I'm just literally meaning your life and the story that you lead as a human being through this material plane. So, as I said before, you incarnate into this place, you've got your cosmic karma, you've got your need for sustaining yourself in order to experience that reality, and then you come to understand the necessity for purification. In order to live a life where you are purifying yourself of all of these distortions, all of these misconceptions, all of these parts of ourselves that have naturally formulated within ourselves because of our cosmic karma, okay? The traumas that we carry with us, and so on and so forth. So we've got these now three layers, okay, that we're putting onto this process. And now what happens here is that we then interact with the social conditioning and the context of the world, which we all know we are interfacing with ruling elites. We're interfacing with states of consciousnesses that have abused power, that keep humanity in a space where it's suppressed, that it doesn't allow for natural awakenings to occur, that there's consistent stuff and distractions all around us. Now, because of our consciousness, and please, I highly recommend watching the video called Cosmic Separation, spelt with an A. Watch that video because it illustrates to you the nature of why we carry this core wounding with us regarding separation, and why we feel victimized by life, and why we feel like we deserve to be on this plane in a way, and all of this kind of distortion that keeps us trapped in the illusion of suffering. So watch that video, the Cosmic Separation one, because it illustrates to us that when we incarnate into this physical plane of existence, when the light comes from source down, and into this physical plane, there's a kind of like bridge, right? The fourth dimension that kind of stops us from feeling connected to that higher dimensional state of being. And we forget the love. We forget that place of connectedness and illusion of unity and empathy and such. What do you think the last 2.5 years with Saturn and Scorpio has been about? And the Uranus and Aries squares. All of these things have come through with and allowed people to have huge shocks that have then forced them in on themselves to deal with the internal dialogue of separation and illusion of separation. So we exist within duality, okay? Is everybody following me right now in terms of where I'm going with this conversation, with this thread, where I'm exploring? Okay? We've got cosmic karma, we've got the incarnation of needing to sustain ourselves, we have the distortions of the world and the conditioning associated with that, and why we don't see the connection between love and our spiritual incarnation, and the distractions that keep us from not seeing that, right? So ruling elites, etc. So we've got to this point, and you can see how many layers there are. Now, through those layers, light has to penetrate itself through there, which means that at some point it's going to get fragmented. and it's all over the place. And so we have the diversity of belief systems, and through the diversity of belief systems overlaid with the archetype of duality, everybody's opinions and thoughts and perspectives are different, but we don't respect it. We judge and criticize and tell people that's their perspective is wrong, and sometimes we actually even become so invasive with our own beliefs because of our own inner security that hasn't been nurtured because of the loss and abandonment that we experienced as children because of the distortions. All right? So this is a big deal that we're dealing with here. Do you understand how much healing we need to go through as a collective, but firstly within ourselves, before we can even begin this journey of self-empowerment? We've got to be honest with ourselves and recognize that we carry this with us. Now, it doesn't mean that we need to spend our entire lives going into that space and feeling disempowered by that process. In fact, it's actually quite the opposite. Because the whole point of the incarnation in itself is to return back up to that place of divine love, which is so infinitely complex and magnificent that we can't even comprehend it. We can have aspects of it, we can feel parts of it, but to me, I don't feel like we can actually incarnate the heart chakra in as intensely as it actually is. And most of us, probably you've maybe spent quite a few of your years doing meditation and accessing those deep parts of yourselves, and that's amazing. And I'm grateful for the fact that you have that ability to experience that. And if you are somebody that's watching this video that has experienced those things, I encourage you to share that knowledge with other people so they can become a remembrance of that. So I come back to the incarnation point and we return back up here, and that's what the spine is about. We climb the 12 archetypes to acquire the 13th. So I'm talking about money here, I'm talking about abundance, and I'm talking about energy. And in order for us to understand this main bulk of this conversation, we need to comprehend where we're coming from and what is influencing the nature of why we have this very strong unconscious disgust towards energy, and that we deserve it. Okay? That it is something that we actually are able to interface with in a way that allows us to experience the prism. And when I say prism, I mean prism as in like crystal, the crystal reflections of light that are available to us when we actually start treating ourselves that way. Okay, so what do I mean when I talk about this? I mean that everything in its most fundamental form is energy. Even the connection from source in itself is still present. It never actually disconnects. It's our perception of not experiencing that connection that then, or the illusion of separateness that stops us from experiencing that connection. And then of course you have fourth dimensional entities and so on and so forth, and false light that cut it off completely, keeping you trapped in this world over here. Because you see with the two eyes of duality versus looking up, which is what the pineal gland does. So again, the point I'm trying to make here is that we, and further explaining this, is that we have infinite energy. Okay, look up the works of Nikola Tesla, look up the works of Dr. Walter Russell. Okay, I mean, just to name two people right intimately right now. And you'll notice that a lot of them talk about this information, this dimension of reality that we can perceive our universe through, that actually liberates us from what I call a time loop. Now, I've brought in a couple of topics over here that haven't really been explained yet. So I'm going to pause for a second and really focus on what I mean by time loop and what I mean with energy. Is that it's pure energy. And you, as a creative being, okay, through the balanced masculine and feminine archetype, co-create through the heart. Okay? So you have the masculine energy, which is the consciousness and the light that penetrates from the top down over here, incarnates into yourself. This is your life. This is where you get up every single morning and you follow your dream. You actualize yourself, okay? This is where you don't say to yourself, I am not successful because I haven't achieved the status that has been projected onto me through false light of what success means. So many of us feel that stardom and success is manifested through owning this car or having that over there, and yet it's not. we all have different journeys, and many of us maybe have a Pluto second house story about, learning about material wealth. Many of us have got Pluto fifth house stories, and so we're learning about the nature of validation from others, and it's about that. But some of us maybe have Pluto in the 12th house, for instance, or Pluto in the 8th house, where we're looking to achieve success through merging to source, Pluto 12th house, or achieve success through confronting our own personal limitations and learning to be more empowered in our everyday, communications. So there's a diversity of success in how we achieve spiritual incarnation in this lifetime, and each of us have got a specific role to play within our own personal journey, and your job is to incarnate that every single day into your life. You wake up fired up, excited, ready to take it on. So you have the masculine energy, it incarnates into yourself. This is where you expand your awareness, you learn, you grow, okay? And then you have the feminine archetype. This is the nature of the womb. This is the nature of protection. This is the nature of creating sustenance. This is the archetype of holding space, support, okay? Now, you can actually see that in our culture today, or in most, in the Western cultures in themselves, we have this masculine and feminine energy where dad goes out and works and mom stays at home and cooks. And then dad comes home and tells us about the days out there, and mom teaches us how to sort of like care for us when we cut ourselves. We on our knee, for instance, we're crying. She puts a plaster on there, and dad comes in and protects us, when the big bad bully comes over to our place. Now, masculine energy expressed. It's actually a divine creation, masculine and energy coming from source. It created itself at the same time. The chicken and the egg happen simultaneously. So we have this expansion. Now, in order to create energy and energy refunds within your life, you need to have a balanced masculine and feminine within your existence. So what you're doing is you're doing the thing you love, right? I'm doing it right now. I'm doing the thing I love. I'm doing the masculine version of this process, which is consistently bringing out knowledge and information that I have researched and read about and found interesting to talk about and reflected upon, and now I'm sharing it with you, okay? And astrology is my passion. So every single morning I wake up and I'm like, how am I going to do the best video I can possibly do for you guys to listen to, that not only gives me a feeling of expansion of my own awareness, gives me the opportunity to heal myself, because a big part of my own personal journey is actually about stepping up and being able to communicate in the public eye without feeling vulnerable. So I feel like I've done a pretty successful job in that process, okay, in terms of actually doing this, like speaking in this way. But at the same time, the feminine archetype still needs to exist, which is I still need to support myself. I still need to go and get the food that allows me to keep a high vibrational state. I still need to go and have the electricity to digest the PDFs that are on the internet regarding, the works of yada, 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 and so on and so forth. I still need the electricity to upload this to the internet so that you can watch this and then you can receive this and go, yeah, I'm gonna walk away from this video and I'm gonna be inspired to go out and find that passion, or live that passion, or live a balanced masculine and feminine energy. I still need to support that process. And so what I do for me personally is share this content with you, share who I am, but then I take my skill, and my skill is the astrology in the way that I perceive it. And I say, okay, guys, if you want to work with me personally one-on-one, then I have a service here and I charge for that service. It's an energy refund. And then what I do with that money, or that energy refund money, is I take it and I go, okay, in order for me to stay high vibrational, I can't be eating crap food. So what I do is I've located a local farmer over here, and I have a contract with him that every single Thursday he delivers to my family 3 boxes of food, like vegetables, because I only eat vegan, all of this type of stuff to my house. And literally, some parts of the actual food, like the carrots, for instance, have actually got mud still on it because it's just been pulled out the ground. And so I consume that stuff that keeps me in a high vibrational state, that allows me to have the energy necessary to then do the things that I do. And I literally create a circuit within myself of doing the passionate thing, which is talking to you guys, sharing with you this, inspiring you, but then also saying to you that if you want to work more intimately with what I'm sharing with you, then I have this space. I take my time and we work with it. And what you do is you say, I respect your time, which I'm going to talk about right now, because money and energy is important regarding time. Okay, they go like this. They're like masculine and feminine. They're like Adam and Eve. Okay, Bonnie and Clyde, for instance. The sun and the moon. So what will happen is that we'll work on that stuff, and what we will work on is your own personal enlightenment, your own personal story. And then you've got the tools necessary to heal yourself, because that's what this channel is about saying you don't need to create dependencies. You can actually heal yourself when you have the right tools available and the awareness to actually go along this road, which again is what this video is going to be about. So you can see where I'm going with this story. You can see what I'm trying to express to you over here and explain to you, that we are all born in time frames, and I'll expand upon that a bit later. And that we have the need to sustain ourselves, and that we have certain, the word is requirements, etc., etc. And then we also have this need to express and incarnate ourselves more, i.e. our own personal spiritual journey. So we have these 4 cardinal points, as it were, and in order for us to actualize ourselves in the matrix that we exist within, we need to be able to have these laws of masculine and feminine energy completely and utterly balanced within us. Left and right brain. We're trying to heal duality here. We're trying to heal the left and right brain imbalance that has been consistently fed through the psychological and social conditioning regarding that if you are right brain intuitive and you don't understand the left brain stuff, you're pretty much screwed, because you're not going to have any money. You're not going to have any energy. You're not going to have any abundance. And the reason why that's the case is because all of the right brain intuitive knowledge that you contain within yourself is to be completely abstract. Oh, that's okay. This is my higher meaning experience over here. So what happens is that we have a collection of people in spiritual circles going, I don't deserve to have a physical incarnation. And then what we'll do is we'll create truths around that need to sustain the physical, which is the left brain, right? The more logical, linear, day-to-day existences that allow for the abstract consciousness to be anchored into the more physical plane. So I'm in there and I'm spaced and I'm looking at the higher meanings, and really subconsciously there's this feeling of you don't deserve to be here. You don't deserve for your life to be on this plane of existence, experiencing nutrition, experiencing to be able to nurture yourself. You've completely and utterly, on an unconscious level, through psychological and social conditioning, rejected the truth and the nature of the feminine archetype for higher meaning, higher purpose. And so this is what you can consider to be the New Age movement in some way, shape, or form, which is random because, a lot of the unfortunate consciousness that will be emerging for us right now, and I ask you to pay close attention to it because it will be coming through to you, and it's very invasive. And that is that we're being trained consistently, if you're not paying attention to it, to take your consciousness and pay attention to it outside, like to literally project it outside. So what happens is that we don't actually have the connection between ourselves and our consciousness as being operating simultaneously, right? So we're consistently having technology and so on and so forth stand outside of ourselves like that, and our consciousness and our awareness is being trained to consistently seek outside of ourselves, right? This is the new religion, all right? So we have this. And we seek for the higher meaning. Now, unfortunately, at this point in time, we go to Mars, we look at Mars, fantastic, there's water there, there's a deep agenda that's going to be taking place regarding that over there. So we're looking outside over there, but nobody's paying attention to what Earth is actually doing. We're so focused on the external world and the distraction of that place that we don't even pay attention to what's happening on Mother Earth right now. Our philosophies and belief systems are not even in that space. We're not even connected to it yet. So we're exploring in this right brain abstractness, and we create perpetual things of I don't deserve money. I have all these higher knowledges, etc., but I'm going to say that my worth is limited, is very limited, and I don't deserve anything good for my physical beingness. So this is why so many people will write amazing books with grand knowledge, and even including yourself. You've got your own story. Why are you not telling us? Okay, your own personal truths. I've never walked your path, but yet you have so much to teach me. So where is that knowledge that is pertained in your own personal story out there in the world for people to see? Do you have a blog? Do you have a website that is teaching us who you are? This is the type of stuff that I'm talking about, that we need to have more of you share your own personal story in the world, so that people like myself can be like, oh, okay, that looks like an interesting story, and read it and go, wow, that must have really, really been an amazing adventure. I didn't know that this part of the world had this city over here. And the only reason why I would know that now is because you expressed your story when you went there 3 years ago, about something, and you learned this thing. And so can you see how we can actually speed up global awakening and allow for us to understand the dimensions of reality further through just validating your own life and telling yourself that you deserve to incarnate, like you are allowed to be here? I am going to talk about the ego and the difference between doing something that is validating your own necessity for validation versus walking your spiritual journey, because there is a very, very big difference between getting stuck in materialism because of filling a void of lack, which is now the left brain. Okay, so we got the Virgo Gemini axis here, and so what's happening here is that we have souls that completely and utterly work. They reject the soul part of it, and they work 24/7, and then they have a holiday. And the holiday is to escape the work, to feel free, the illusion of freedom. And then what happens is you come back and work, and you buy loads of stuff, and you have wonderful things. So you got, on one reality, somebody that's got loads and loads of cash, but has no soul, right? And then on the other side, you've got somebody that has absolutely no ability to sustain themselves and loads of soul. There needs to be the balance of the left and right brain. There needs to be the merging of the duality. There needs to be the coming together of a masculine, listen to me. The masculine and feminine. It needs to be balanced. We need to find that process. So as we move forward in terms of the timelines and our cosmic karma, we've got to recognize, and this is what I meant about cosmic karma, we've got to recognize, firstly, that we have these things called the Kali Yuga cycle. Now, every single one of you knows that the Kali Yuga cycle in itself has been what humanity's been experiencing for quite some time. And during the Kali Yuga cycles, which I will bring up in the presentation and show you guys what I mean, this is the Yuga cycles. This is the galactic, process of the star system Sirius being furthest away from Earth, and then we have the dimmest, right? The Kali Yuga cycle, or period of time, is when we are in the Bronze Age, when we are completely and utterly at our lowest spiritual awakened state. And so therefore we are in the glorification of the material. We are in the glorification of the self, right? And so what we have around us is a manifestation of that. But recognize that when you have come to within yourself a realization of the oneness, when you have transcended, when you've gone through and you've awakened this part of yourself over here, you'll see that what you see outside of yourself is the past, because it's not who you are inside. It's really, really important to recognize that in terms of the nature of time itself, okay, when you're looking outside of yourself and you're looking at the structures and the banking systems and all those types of things, you're looking at the nature of what has happened relative to what is currently changing from within. Okay, so we have money, we have abundance, we have energy. Okay, they're all the same thing. Now, what happens here is that, and I've jumped here, and I understand that that's the case, but I know that you guys are following me, and that is that in order for you to spiritually actualize yourself in this matrix relative to the time frame you're existing within and the social conditionings and so on and so forth, if you had to stop and say, I refuse to interact with any monetary system whatsoever, what that will do for you, okay, firstly, is it will stop you from interacting with societal context, which is fantastic. That's great. And you'll go live somewhere in a rural area and you'll, but what will happen is that in some part of yourself, you're actually rejecting the masculine energy because you're going back to what would be considered the matriarchal time, which is everybody lived in harmony with nature. You followed the sun and the moon. You understood this deeper thing, but you didn't have protection. You didn't have the ability to connect and explore the nature of reality and so on and so forth. So you were very much limited. In fact, most of the masculine energy that is today, or patriarchies today, is the reaction from not having that expansion. Right? So you do that, which is great. The problem here that we have at this point in time, and this is what I'm trying to really get to in terms of this conversation, is that there are different circumstances for every single person. Okay, I'm going to use mine for an example in this conversation. So I've got a family of 5. Okay, so I've got a 9-year-old that I'm looking after with in terms of I'm looking at a 2-year-old, 2.5-year-old, and an 8-month-old. Okay, now these are my contracts. I'm a Pluto and Libra soul, which means that I'm born at a period of time where the global awakening did not manifest. So I have a lot of my own personal story relative to getting out of the matrix, as it were. But yet I still live with many of you that are Pluto and Libra generation that have got children at this point in time, and maybe some Pluto and Scorpio, that cannot just like go, okay guys, we're packing up and we're moving to off the grid. Right. Because not only are you actually going to be in some way, shape or form forcing your children to experience trauma, right? So it's instantly creating new change for them, etc. And they're not allowing for their own state of beingness to exist within themselves. So there is a part of your own karma that you have to surrender to, the time frame you were born in. So for me, I have a very sort of like two-sided reality, where on one hand, I have created a reality around me at this point in time where every single day I do this work and I share all the information I can with you guys as much as I can for free. Okay? Almost 80% of my work. And that is my Neptune story. That is my devotion. Okay? Because I get something back in return from that in many different ways. And, on the other side, I also need to sustain these people's lives. And at this point in time, the best way for me to sustain it is to say, okay, I'm awesome at doing the astrology and the discovering and the higher dimensional states of awarenesses, etc. But I don't really have the capacity to grow my own food at this point in time as much as I would like to. So I grow a little bit of it, but not as much as I can. Okay. So therefore what I do is I contract somebody existentially, okay, that does do that. And it's wonderful foods that then brings it to me every single, like I said earlier in the discussion. There needs to be an energetic exchange here. Now, at this point in time, that person also has a circumstance that is also dependent on the system in some way, shape, or form. So what we have here is the necessity to still be part of the system in some way, shape, or form and interact with it. However, for me, I don't purchase anything from the supermarket. I don't interact with any corporations unless I absolutely have to, which is pretty much none, apart from maybe, at this point in time, I use a program called Zoom, which is what I connect with people with, etc. And YouTube, for instance, right? I limit the amount of Facebook stuff that I have to use. I interact with this technology in a way where it is not ownership of me, right? I use it to spread awareness like most of you will do. And wherever you can cut out the dependency on the system relative to your situation is amazing. But now you have the souls that are Pluto and Virgo generation, and Pluto Leo, and the souls that are Pluto and Scorpio generation, which in a sense have not, and maybe the Pluto and Sag as well, don't have as much of a need of dependency on the system. So you can actually go out into the wilderness and have absolutely no attachments to it. What I'm trying to share with you is that in terms of my own personal philosophy, what is relevant for me to sustain myself in my existence and what my cosmic karma tells me or it puts me in the place to do, as well as my social conditioning, the best that I can do is limit my attention and attachment to corporations and to the entity, as it were. But simultaneously, I still need to recognize that in order for me to do the work that I need to do, I need to sustain myself. So therefore, if I deny completely the ability to say, okay, guys, like I charge this amount of money for this service that I do, and then I also have this program, and that's what it does, etc., etc. That is because there is a complete and utter relationship to the time taken to do that work. And this is where I'm talking about time and energy. You have to reconstruct and rewire your consciousness in a way where you're interacting with energy. Okay? And that energy refunds can come in different forms, right? People so this is what I'm trying to say, is that in order for you to sit with your existence, sit with your life, and sustain yourself in a position like myself, you do these things. And then what that does is it gives me the ability to sustain the most limited things that I have in my home at this point in time, which are very limited, literally cut off from the system. I have zero dependencies, no bank loans, no nothing of the sort. So the only thing that I have is to pay the farmer and to make sure that I can pay the internet, etc., and to pay for, the kind of like the car that the child needs to use to get to school, because in Sweden it can get very, very snowy at this point in time. But that's masculine energy, is the ability to have a car that gets the child to school in a way which is protected from this mass snow experience, right? And to put a roof over their head and for them to be able to interact with books, etc., etc. And for me to use the equipment at this stage to communicate to you in a very professional way. So all of that type of stuff goes into that, and it's the time. And this is really, really important. You don't actually live forever. And at any point in time, you can actually have that severed away from you. So what I'm trying to say to you over here is that you've got to recognize that in the life that you have a specific amount of time. Now, what you choose to do with that time is your own story. But recognize that part of abundance, the difference between money and riches and wealth, there's a difference here. Abundance is your own relationship to yourself relative to what you perceive your self-worth to be. So if you are somebody that is sitting in a situation that doesn't value yourself in a way that is going to reflect your life in that sense, then you need to work on that. And it's not your fault, because on a part of this situation, we have unfortunately been through the matrix, pushed into circumstances, situations where you have a low lack of self-esteem. And you've got all these types of woundings and traumas that you carry with yourself. And that's just what I'm offering in terms of the Pluto and Capricorn story, is to break it. The Virgo axis to break it, the Saturn and Sagittarius to break it. To recognize that you do deserve to have the quality of life that you wish to have, that serves your spiritual incarnation. So you establish the awareness and the necessity that abundance is something that is yours. And that as you establish this abundance, the time that you use on this plane of existence is relative to that. So you don't want to be sitting at the age of like 20, at the age of like 40 or 45, etc., working until you get that liberation. You want to be doing what your heart desires the most, all the time. Creative inspiration. Anchor that into, in some way, shape, or form. Use your art, use your poetry. Be what is in the centeredness over here, and be it every single time. And then say, look, I wrote this book. This book teaches about this, and this is how much it costs. Most people write a book, for instance, and they go, I'll give it away for like $35 or something, or $25. You must understand that the statement that you make about the value of that book is what you think about yourself. So if you have created something magical and you go, it's just $35, that's how much you believe your energy to be. So what you're going to get back in return is somebody saying, okay, well, that's how much you deserve for all those time, that hour that you put into it. How long does it take to write a book? To do all the research, do all that type of stuff. And then what you're going to do is you're going to give yourself an energy refund, okay, that is going to give yourself enough time that is not even relative to what you put into it. So you spent 3 years writing this book, and you're going to get an energy refund that is equivalent to 15 minutes of freedom, as it were. So your ultimate goal here with the Pluto and Virgo generation that are now liberating themselves from a lot of the things of thinking about others in terms of their children are starting to grow up already, etc. And now you're finding yourself in a new direction, is to actually take your incarnation and say, what do I love the most? Bring it into the physical and say, okay, this is my teaching. And I feel personally it's about $100. But that can be incredibly difficult to do because there's a part of you that doesn't believe that you actually deserve that. That's why the matrix is set up the way that it is, in order to tell you, slave, little person, you are not worth what you think you are, because, you know, there's a massive separation between your actual state of beingness and divine creation. It's literally, you're literally turning around and saying that divine creation in itself is worth what I just created. I am not anything less than that. More than that, pardon me. So this is something we've got to work on. This is something that we've got to really start establishing within ourselves. That if you are going to spend time with your heart crafting something that is complete and utter, like honoring, please do yourself a favor and actually put an energy band around that to say that if you want to interact with something like this, and you are, this is what it is. This is how much the energy band is. Why is it that when you go and watch like a concert that's done by these retards like Madonna and so on and so forth, they charge ample amounts of money because they know that what they're doing is every single day, Monday to Friday, practicing their hearts out to do these performance arts, etc. They're validating their experience of all their hard work. Now, I'm not saying that the music industry in itself, in terms of those guys over there, is something you need to pay attention to. But the reason why these tickets for these prices are so expensive when you're dealing with people that are on a professional level is because they go, we are taking our time, our blood, sweat, and tears to work on something that we love. And in return, we would like you to respect for that because what you're getting in return is freaking amazing. And you do that with your personal skill. This conversation is so like open-ended and wide at this point in time. So I sincerely apologize for taking up all your time here, guys, because there's so much more I could share with it. Like for instance, time loops. So what will happen is here is that you have the division of the left and right brain. Okay, so you've got the division, left and right brain divided. And we don't see the unity. We don't see that in order for our creative self-actualizations in the intuitive abstract part of our right brain exist, high dimensional space, we don't know how to put it into practical reality. We don't know the step-by-steps. So the Virgo Pisces axis teaches you this necessity of karma yoga. So for me, as an example, every single day I wake up, I do the things that are needed in order for me to sustain my physical incarnation here. I look after the kids, I do this type of stuff, and simultaneously, I'm listening and reading and researching content that I feel is really valuable. And then I come over here and I sit and I share it with you. And then I also create necessary workshops and so on and so forth. And the purpose is to say, if you're interested in self-empowerment, if you're interested in healing yourself, then I hold space for this to happen. And this is the energy band that I use. So I devote myself to the work in terms of this, and here's my self-sustainable necessity here. This is because I can't facilitate all my needs. And I want you to do the same thing. I want you to recognize that instead of feeling like the monetary system and so on and so forth is negative and that you don't deserve this, because unconsciously you're basically telling yourself you don't deserve it. I'm not going to interact with it. No. This is where the samskara exists. Right? The personality, the holding on to the truth. So we sit there and we go, yep, I don't deserve abundance. Abundance is literally understanding the relationship of energy, which is to go, in order for me to move this box, which is 400, tons of abundance, if I do not have the equal amount to move that box, then I'm not going to move that box. So therefore, I need to get that abundance in order for me to move that box. So for instance, if you're wanting to study astrology, okay, and you want to study astrology with the great astrologers, like for instance, Dan Raja and stuff, right? Their work, they've spent an incredible amount of their time invested in acquiring the knowledge that is going to give you a sense of awakening within yourself and give you the opportunity to do it. So when you're on the other side and you've assimilated this stuff and now you're working as a professional astrologer or a professional writer, etc., and you don't value yourself, nobody's going to come up to you and say to you, hey, nobody's going to value you. So you've actually got to understand within yourself that abundance is your ability to understand that whatever you want to create in the world, whatever you want to manifest, whatever you want to move into, there's always contains energy. It's units of energy. And the amount of units of energy that are existing within you in relationship to what you're interacting with will be the time it takes in order for you to experience it. So I'll give you an example of for me at this point in time. 3 years ago, in 2013 in August, I'd been researching quite a lot of the Pluto material, and eventually I saw that they actually had the School of Evolutionary Astrology. Okay, and I was like, wow, that costs $1,200. I only literally have $1,200 in my bank account, and I'm like, okay. I laid it down and I received the school and the material, and because I valued my own abundance, when I got that material, I didn't go, oh yeah, I'll just learn. I was like, I'm going to make sure that that abundance that I put out, I get back tenfold. And so I sit here today, and the abundance I get back is not in a monetary form only. I get back abundance from you guys turning to me and saying to me, thank you so much for giving me this astrology chart of the day thing, which, by the way, you know, if you're watching this and you look at this chart of the day, thank you so much for all that love that you're giving me. I appreciate it so much. But it's also given me the opportunity to know what I'm talking about right here. And so for you guys can heal yourself, including me. You understand this process? So this is the attitude that you've got to have. You've actually got to wake up and go, all right, okay, this is how much I'm worth at this point in time because of social conditioning, and I'm not being honest with myself. I don't really actually believe in myself as much as I should. And I can see it in the outside world because the universe mirrors it. What as above, so below. As within, so without. So if you're telling yourself internally, because this is the best part about it, the universe is not going to go to you, okay, well, I'm going to believe in your mental lies. It's going to go, if you don't vibrate inside of yourself, a belief within inside of yourself, I'm going to show you existentially. Simple as. So the spiritual incarnation is to step into that space and go, take up space. You know, where's your website? How are you publicizing it? How are you letting people know what you do? So it's the end of victimization, and it's the realization that everything that you want to do with your life starts with you. And it starts with honoring your abundance, that then eventually over a period of time becomes the energy exchange. How much do you deserve? How much do you value your own life in a way where you're going to go, I'm going to sustain myself, I'm going to support myself. So here's how we do it. Here's how we do this process. We look at ourselves and we go, okay, there's the corporate world, there's the monetary system, there is the credit card and all that type of stuff. They exist there. You must understand that they're not going away. And life doesn't owe us anything. Get that straight. Like, life does not owe us anything. We don't incarnate into this like, yep, I deserve that, and I deserve that, and I deserve that. Because the moment you do that is the moment that you set yourself up for suffering. So the purpose here is to wake up and go, I'm going to manifest my dreams. And the way that I do that is by taking charge of my life. And the way that I'm going to do that is by waking up and going, right, I'm doing some research, and I'm going to every single day pay a little bit of attention to it. I'm going to communicate. I'm going to, you know, in terms of like connecting with people, I'm going to find out my dreams. I'm going to pursue it. And along that pursuing that goal, you smell the roses. You learn along the way in that process. It's not about the end result. It's about the journey. And that's the point. The point is that we're so focused on the end result that we don't even recognize the things we need to do to get to that goal, as it were. So it hasn't been taught. We go to school, we learn about random stuff, distractions, etc., to hold up the institutionalized nature of creation itself. And nobody actually goes, okay, so here's a goal. How do I achieve that? What do I need? And so we go through these trials and tribulations of trying to achieve that. And then, you know, when you get to the age of 50, you've spent your entire life just trying to learn about these subtle things. So the point here is to recognize within yourself that you would want to follow your dreams, follow your heart, and honor that process by recognizing the abundance and the worth that you have within yourself. You put the energy band around you that allows you to then create more waves. So at the moment, if I'm not interacting with energy and I'm not adding energy to what I do, then I will not have the voice necessary for me to facilitate more growth for other people and for myself. Like, my actual dreams themselves are limited. And we love this. We love to hold on to this illusion that it's other people that's done this to us. It's other corporations. It's stop. If you feel that way in some way, shape, or form, you need to get out of that pattern, because it's only suffering. We need to take charge of our lives in this point in time. We need to stand up within our own states of beingnesses and recognize our connection to Source, our own personal connection to Source, and literally incarnate yourself, your fifth dimensional self, all the time, every single moment. And take space up, take power up, and then distribute it and help other people do the same. So your job here is to find your own empowerment, and then through that process, teach other people to find it within themselves. That is the way we solve this problem. We don't solve it by hibernating in the middle of the bloody forest somewhere, completely off grid, while the rest of the culture norms don't know about your awakening, because you've decided to run away from the culture because you don't believe in the monetary system. There is no, energy does not have a state of being where it goes, I'm going to choose these guys over these guys. It doesn't happen. It just goes, whatever it is that you're going to focus on, I'm going to react to. So therefore, if you constantly keep on reacting to the nature of it's negative and it's bad and it's got all this type of stuff, then fantastic. But you will experience that in your reality, and you'll never experience the polarity of it, which exists simultaneously. Your job in this experience is to remain humble. That's the trick. It is to not get stuck in the material world, and to value yourself relative to what material things you've got. You use the material world for your own spiritual evolution as a catalyst, and then you also then expand upon that for other people. You hold space. You need energy. You need power within yourself. You can't move stuff if you don't have power. That's why you can't do anything, because you don't recognize the power within, because you don't give it yourself that. It's the toroidal field. Right? So masculine energy that perpetuates into yourself, you incarnate through your heart, and then what comes up the top over here is the reality that you created through the heart, which is the feminine energy. I'll support you. Right? Incarnate, support, incarnate, support, incarnate, support. So I challenge everybody at this point in time to focus on the nature of where you feel like you have the illusions of the balanced left and right brain, to look at the duality that exists within you and try to feel into that and start recognizing the abundance that you are, so that you can start going, okay, right, I love to draw. It's amazing. Not me personally, I'm saying I love to draw. So I'm going to go and I'm going to set my sights on acquiring that information or that teaching from that person over there. And what I'm going to do is that, yeah, I don't have the abundance at this point in time, because everybody's going to start at ground zero, literally, like myself. Start at ground zero and you go, that's my dream, that's my goal, that's what I want to achieve. And then you begin that process, and along the way you learn all the things and the tricks and all that type of stuff. And then when you get older in your life, you start scribing that to other people so that their own personal story can go faster. That is how we awaken the globe. It cannot happen instantly. If it did, the whole entire globe would instantaneously blow up. Nobody would have it. And we don't even have sufficient amounts of healers, teachers, and spiritual guides on the planet at this stage to even tell us how to get there. So we're right at the beginning. We're entering the Pari Yuga cycle, and that will take about 500 years before that knowledge gets assimilated. Light returns very slowly, consciousness returns very slowly. If it moved faster, insanity would occur. So this is the point where you recognize your cosmic karma, right? You're born in this time frame. This is what we have to work with. We are not people that have advanced technologies of interdimensional nonsense and stuff like that. We have these tools. And we have this system, and we have our personal journey into that. And your job is to weave it in there. Great, guys. I really hope that this video held space for you to focus on something that I felt really inspired to talk about. recognizing your self-worth, recognizing that abundance is related to that, and that in order for you to have power within yourself to move and make waves, you need to be able to recognize that abundance that is within inside of yourself, so that you can then start honoring your own manifestation and creations, and then in return teaching that process. So I hope that you got something out of this video. Please share with me the comments and or your thoughts in the comments below. There's a part 2 to this video, which is what I was talking about in terms of the slides, and I'll try to record that whenever I can, probably today, later on, and that's kind of like just adding more information to the situation. So yeah, other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to check out Raising Vibrations' website for all the things that I do over there if you're interested in working with me one-on-one. Other than that, hit the like and subscribe button and share this material with whoever you feel is needing this at this stage, okay? Have a wonderful day, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.